Good day, guys. My name is Ademola Badmos, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, do not forget to like and subscribe, and also share with your friends. More importantly, I would recommend that you watch the previous series on Java and Selenium, as I have discussed some very important topics in there, and those topics will make it easier for you to follow through with this. Not that you won't be able to follow through, but you will be able to get it easier. And in line with what we've been doing, we have gotten to a point where we want to further improve our script. So I did mention that based on what we've been doing, you can see that the password is constant for everything here. So we might essentially not just create a new password, right? We might not just create a new password. We might not put password into the reusable step because we are inserting it, because we are only doing it once. I would want you to understand that reusing steps has to do with unique steps, but when those steps are actually generic across board, you can leave it that way. Like clicking the login button is the same. Now if there are so many other clicking events in your script, then you can now create the avenue to reuse it by putting in the quotes, making it become reusable, putting in the quotes and making it become reusable so that anything can be passed into it. Okay, so with that being said, let's just create the scenario where we can reuse everything. So let's go. When you want to introduce this kind of concept, you use a different type of scenario, and that scenario is called a scenario outline. Yeah. So in a scenario outline, what you get to do is you get to reuse just one test scenario for similar scenarios. For, let's say, the same way we have the 4 login types now. We know that we visit the same login page, right? We'll visit the same page. We'll use the same username field. We'll use name password field. We'll use the same login button. The only thing, in fact, we use the same password. The only thing that is different is the username. So, and the outcome of the login. So we can create a scenario outline, because through the example table of the scenario outline, we can insert all of these things. So let's begin. So in the first instance, we can say we have to describe the scenario. So a user, let's put user in quotes like this. A user is able to access the page based on permission. Let's do it this way, on permission. So it's basically the same steps, we'll just change some things. So we will come here and say, when I insert the user, right, when I insert the user, that type of user, and I insert the password, let password stand alone this time. Let's quickly create the step for password. So once password can stand alone, we will change it everywhere else. So we will remove it from here and we'll put it here. Let's leave this so we will not run out of time. So we can remove this. You can remove password from here, and we can equally just let it be password everywhere else. Okay, so it's just the username that is different. So when I insert the username, okay, and I insert the password, I click login, then we can change this to I should have access based on my permission. I should have access based on my permission. So we can create this step as well. And we haven't done anything in here because there is no need to really do much, but bear with me. So now that we've done this, the next thing we need to do is we need to put all the type of examples that we need for this. So the first thing is we'll create pipes, put the user, another pipe, the permission, right? So under it, we begin to put the type of users that we are talking about. So it could be pipe standard. Let's call it standard user. No, for now let's call it standard, and let's call this one success. For problem, the pipe. For problem, let's call this one distorted. So we can click code and do reformat file. So you should format the whole file so it looks good. Now let's just comment this out, the 4 scenarios. Let's comment it out. Let's just run the scenario outline and see. So now if you want to insert the user, we will need to create the user step, but we already have a step handling user here. We have a step handling user here, so let's just change this one from username, because you can reuse this particular step to undo that, and change this one to problem as well, right? And that would answer that. And for the permission, let's create another switch statement here. Switch, right? And we put let's just call this access, and we call it access here as well. Okay, so in this case we can say case what did we put in the, we call it success and distorted. Good. So success, in case success, what do we need is the step for success. Where is it? We should see the product, which includes this, right? Which includes this. Then we can break and move to the next. We can break and move to the next case, which is distorted. And in distorted, this is what we need. That's the same step that will work for it. So we need to just close this. Now with this done, let us run our code and see if it would work. So we expect it to be able to run the 2 of them. As you can see, it ran it successfully, and we have only 1 step. So we could essentially now put the rest of the codes here, but this, in essence, there are still ways to improve it. Bear with me, please. There are still ways to improve it. Instead of having a switch statement for inserting the username and password, We could have just one command and it will insert the username and password. We could have just one command, and that would just mean that we'll make some tweaks, a little tweak here, and we'll make a little tweak here as well. So instead of having like 4 or 5 lines of code here, we could have just one line of code and it will begin to insert the username and the password. But this has to do, it is important, I will also mention it in the next video, it also has to do with having an understanding of your application before you try to use this. Understand the behavior of your application, know the peculiarity in it. Now you can, this is the peculiarity I'm talking about. It is the same username field that we would insert all type of 4 users. So it doesn't make sense, it would make sense for us actually if we do not pass this as an argument for the type of text insertion that we are doing, because the username is constant. But let's say it is a different ball game where we have different places that we want to insert, then we can create it that way. Does that make sense? I believe that should make sense. So we can create it that way. But for the sake of knowledge, I will leave it the way we have created it. But it's quite important for you to understand what you're doing to the extent that you understand how to construct your reusable methods. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye, and see you in the next video.